Alright, hello and welcome back to Watching Thoughts. I have finished, I obviously watched the first episode of Ultraman, and I gave my thoughts on that. That video has actually gotten a couple views, which is nice, like always. One dislike, thank you. Any dislike or like is appreciated in some degree, I suppose. But that's not going to stop me. I don't care, frankly. I'm just doing this because I want to watch a new show and I want to give my opinions on that thought. So one dislike to 0 likes with 16 views doesn't do much for me. I've been putting things on this YouTube channel for a while with 0 views. My older channel has had I think I had a video that had 100 views. That was nice. That was nice. But this is small fry problems, I suppose. We should actually get up to the second episode of Ultraman, and I haven't watched it yet. I'm about to. I just want to preface this by saying I haven't. It's been, I don't know, 2, 3, possibly 4 days since I watched that first episode, so I'm definitely gonna have forgotten a couple of things, and if I have, I do apologize. I don't know, just didn't feel like watching Ultraman, frankly. Um, wasn't a ooh, I just don't want to watch it 'cause it's bad. It's been on my mind. It has legitimately been on my mind. It's not one of the shows that I kind of just forgot about. But I think the reason it's been on my mind is because I've been like, oh, I have to make a video at some point. Um, so I'm gonna do episode 2. My hopes are, from what I remember correctly, I want to see more of Ultraman and have the show explain that deal a bit more because I'm still confused. And well, that's kind of the point. That's the mystery, right? I want to see more action, less people standing or sitting in a grey room with a shitty frame rate. Because it was very off-putting compared to the action scenes that were very well animated in these nicely designed areas with good voice acting. So, I don't know. More action, less talking would be nice, but I don't think I'm going to get that. Because the first episode is always the sucker the viewer in and then show what we have later on. So the second episode is usually the episode where they either put the least effort into or just enough to be passable. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting any huge story twists or revelations in this episode, but I'm expecting some explanation. If I don't get any explanation, it's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem because usually you need the first episode to set the characters right, and then the second episode you need to give the audience the information they need for the rest of the series. Let's see how Ultraman does in that respect. Until then, see you when I get back. Okay, so I'm gonna have to quit out of the show. It's just not for me, frankly. It's the type of show that I'm not really into. I wanted to give it a chance, right? Because that's what I wanted to do with this series. Right? I wanted to choose a random Netflix show. I just want to watch it. I want to watch all of it, and if I end up not liking it or if it was insulting to watch, I wouldn't watch it anymore, frankly. Um, but this one is a case I didn't think I'd come across. I didn't in the fact that the show actually just might be good, but it's not for me. That's the thing. I I've never really been into these types of shows. I was when I was a kid, right? I loved the Power Rangers. I loved that whole sort of, suit up to fight an alien bad guy with, you know, complex, overpowered technologies or powers or whatever. It was a powerful fantasy that I enjoyed because it was simple, easy, and you didn't really have to put a lot of care and effort into enjoying it. You could just enjoy it if you will like that kind of thing. Um, but like all genres, it has its own complexities and things that fans expect and don't expect. But as I've grown older and gone past my sort of my basic power fantasy phase, it stopped being fun for me. You know, I don't like this kind of show. Um, the first episode really set it up as something more than one of these shows. It did, and maybe in the future it does as well. Maybe this second episode just isn't a good representation of the show. That just might be it. But this second episode legitimately bored me. And it was 90% fighting, with some good animation. Not. It was lackluster at best, I think. But I will go down my complaints. I will talk about the episode specifically. The beginning of the episode with I don't remember his name. Hang, give me 2 seconds. Shinjiro, Shinjiro's father. Um, I think that's in the first episode. I expected him to die in this episode, and I was kind of right. Him being Ultraman in this episode was just there to pass the torch to Shinjiro, so he can be the next Ultraman. That's kind of Shinjiro's father's purpose within the story. It's the passing of the torch. Teacher becomes the student, ignoring the fact that his father never taught him anything. Uh, but it's the generational torch, I suppose, instead of the teacher torch. Um, there was a big problem here at the beginning. Shinjiro's father was like, "Hey, Shinjiro, I'm gonna throw you into a helicopter or something, and you'll be safe or something." I don't quite remember what happened. I was watching it. I don't remember. That's how dull it was. But Shinjiro's father got Shinjiro out of danger, which is an acceptable thing for this character to do. So it wasn't out of the ordinary. Um, so now you have Shinjiro's father and this. Uh, I don't even know anymore if this is the alien side of Ultraman that was being talked about the prologue or whatever. I like this villain. I was expecting to get backstory for, but I didn't. He's just kind of a thing that does stuff at the moment. But I guess that's a problem with me and not with the episode itself. That's just kind of how this kind of genre works in general. Um, so you have these two characters standing in a football field, and because this scene here, the scene with both these characters, is meant to demonstrate Shinjiro's father not being Ultraman anymore. Like Shinjiro's father he's too old. You know, he hasn't been Ultraman in a while, and it's getting to the stage where he's done. You know, he can't be Ultraman anymore, and his character needs to accept that fact, and that's what the scene is meant to do. But all it did was demonstrate that Shinjiro's father is incredibly weak and cannot do anything, and is not a very good Ultraman, if I'm honest. Like, and also I'm meant to be looking at this villain, right? Going, ooh, this is a really scary villain that could kill Shinjiro and his father very easily and blow up the whole world and kill everyone. That's kind of how they're hyping up this villain. But he hasn't done anything, and even in the action scene he was in, he didn't actually do anything either. Um, like Shinjiro's father and him, they were fighting. There were a few flips, a few scraps, but at the end it was kind of like that scene from Lord of the Rings um with Gandalf and Solomon. Where Solomon is obviously demonstrating that he has the upper hand, he's just more powerful, and it's kind of like that. This is what I can do because I'm better than you, and there's nothing you can. It's taunting, you know. You you could easily kill this guy, but you're not. You're just taunting him, and you're just playing with your meal before you kill it. Uh, and it really made Shinjo's father look weak and not very interesting as a character anymore. Because we at the beginning in the first episode we saw Shinjo's character as this big hero, right? This important character to this universe who who's an important part of Shinjo's life and to the longevity of the series in general because of his position within the story. Because he is the sort of teacher, mentor, father figure. Well, he is the father figure, I guess, because he is literally the father. But that kind of role. So he is integral to not only Shinjiro's story, but the story in whole because he was the previous Ultraman. But all of that was immediately negated by having the antagonist for the episode just beating him into the ground. This is only the second episode. If this was done in like the fourth or fifth episode, that would be fine, right? I could imagine that happening. It's a mid-series climax. You can do that, and then Shinjiro can go on and do the rest, right? But it happening in the second episode kind of also shows that Ultraman as a character, like the concept of Ultraman, not the person in the suit or whatever. Ultraman himself is just a very weak, powerless person because he can't stop someone just beating him up. Not with like super technology, just a strong beating. That it takes away a lot of the magic from me, and seeing that really killed my enthusiasm for the show and wanting to continue watching it. And then you have Shinjiro talking to Shinjiro's father, been like, hey, what can I do? I don't want my father to die. Oh no. And Shinjiro's father's like, hey, father's friend, we'll call him Hank, so I don't have to say Shinjiro's father's friend anymore. Hank was like, hey, yo, I have a suit you can use. We were saving it for you. Well, your father was, or I was something. It doesn't matter. It's something that characters say all the time to characters like this. We were saving it for you, so when you became old enough, we could give you the suit and you could go out fighting with your dad or something. So if you want to go save him, put on the suit and go save your dad. And then he puts the suit on Shinjiro and jumps back into the stadium to save his father. Which, just before that scene played, Shinjiro's father just got punched through the stomach, blood spurting out of his mouth. It looked like the character was dead, and you don't have that kind of shot without the character dying. That's the thing. I think about all the shows where I've seen someone punch through someone else, right? Unless the character was the main character or an important character that could be revived or whatever, or if it was super hardcore sci-fi, usually that meant the character was dead, right? That was the storytellers, the animators, or just the actors telling the audience this character is now dead because they've got a fucking hole through them. But Shinjiro's father wasn't dead, so I immediately lost all sense of care for the character because if he can get punched through the fucking stomach, he's gonna live. If he can live through that, he's never gonna die, and that's ridiculous. And I come back to my original point, right? This entire show isn't for me. It's not. This isn't a category of show I enjoy, and that's fine. While watching the show, I was thinking back to that one guy that disliked the video, right? I know you shouldn't do that. It's a very negative way of thinking, but maybe they did that because I said I didn't quite like the show, and they did, and you know what? Fair to them. There are a lot of genres I don't particularly find interesting, and there's a lot of genres that others don't find very interesting, but I do. So I think the final thing I have to say here is, if you like that this kind of show where it's just a young man, usually teenager, who wants to become powerful, that sort of power fantasy storyline, and he gets a super powered suit so he can kill some aliens with other super powered suits or whatever. If that sounds interesting to you and you like animated things, like CG animated things, or just I guess animated things in general, because I know there's people out there. I have some friends like that who will only watch animated stuff. They don't like live action things. And if you're like one of those people, give the show a go. You're probably gonna like it more than I do. Um, I'm very critical with things I don't super enjoy. And this is just one of those things. You know, I think about my complaints and I go, is that really a complaint? Is that a justifiable complaint that I have for the show in a genre I don't quite enjoy? Is my criticism even relevant by that stage? Um, so yeah, if I recommend the show, if you do like that kind of thing. I know it's a very vague response, but I'm not going to sit here and watch the show and bitch about little things in this genre that I either don't get, or don't understand, or don't understand what it's referencing, or just don't enjoy in general. Um, and I think that's a good place to leave the video. A little depressing note, I guess, realizing that I can't critique everything and that maybe this whole concept is flawed from the beginning. But I think it's an important thing that I'm glad I did now. And I am excited to do it with something that I do enjoy. You know, I'm excited to find a show I'll legitimately really enjoy and be able to talk about and go, ooh, I wonder what's gonna happen next episode. There are a few dramas on Netflix that I kind of like that, and I'm excited to do it. Um, but until then, until I find another show or whatever, thanks for watching. I appreciate it.